The day I married into the Sutton family, my mother-in-law Rebecca wore black. Not a subtle, fashionable black cocktail dress, but a full-length funeral gown, complete with a pearl-studded veil. When I confronted her about it later, she smiled that razor-thin smile of hers and said, "Oh, Regina dear, I always wear black to funerals. And isn't this the death of my son's bachelor life?" I should have known then what I was getting myself into. My name is Regina, and 6 months ago I thought I was living a fairy tale. Tobias swept me off my feet at a charity auction where I was volunteering. He was charming, successful, and looked at me like I was the only woman in the room. 3 months of whirlwind romance later, he proposed. "Mother and father want us to live in the family estate," Tobias announced 1 week after our honeymoon. We were having breakfast in our temporary apartment and I nearly choked on my coffee. "Live with your parents? But we talked about getting our own place." He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "It's tradition, darling. All Sutton couples start there. Plus, it'll help us save for that dream house you want." I should have argued harder, but I was still floating on cloud nine. "Okay," I said, "but just for a little while." That little while turned into my personal nightmare. Rebecca's idea of welcoming me was reorganizing my entire wardrobe because Sutton women have standards to maintain. My father-in-law Wilson barely acknowledged my existence unless it was to correct my table manners or comment on my common upbringing. "Darling," Rebecca said during dinner last night, eyeing my grandmother's antique wedding jewellery, "those pieces look rather provincial on you. Perhaps we should store them properly in the family vault." "They're fine where they are," I replied, touching the delicate gold chain around my neck. "My grandmother wore this on her wedding day." "Yes, and it shows." Rebecca sipped her wine. "Tobias, dear, don't you think Regina would look better in the Sutton family jewels?" Tobias glanced between us, his fork suspended mid-air. "Mother, It's settled then," Rebecca interrupted. "Wilson, call Charles tomorrow to open the vault. We'll keep Regina's trinkets safe there, and she can wear something more appropriate." I looked at Tobias, waiting for him to defend me, to say something, anything, but he just stared at his plate, pushing around his roasted vegetables like a schoolboy avoiding confrontation. That's when I realized I wasn't just fighting for my grandmother's jewelry, I was fighting for my identity in a house that was determined to erase it. "They took them, Sonia. They actually took my grandmother's jewelry." My voice cracked as I paced back and forth in my best friend's design studio. I came back from grocery shopping and everything was gone from my jewelry box. Sonia set down her sketching pencil and stared at me. "They did what? Without your permission?" "Rebecca left a note saying it's safer in the family vault." I pulled out the cream-coloured paper, my hands shaking. But when I demanded to see them, Wilson claimed the vault manager is out of town for 2 weeks. "That's theft, Regina. Plain and simple." Sonia's normally calm demeanour shifted to anger. "Have you told Tobias?" I laughed bitterly. "He says I'm overreacting. That his mother means well." I collapsed into a chair, fighting back tears. "But you should have seen Rebecca's face this morning at breakfast. She was wearing her smug smile, the one that says she's won." "What exactly did she say?" "Nothing directly. Just kept talking about how some things are better left to those who understand their true value." I mimicked Rebecca's condescending tone. "Then she mentioned getting the pieces appraised, for insurance purposes." Sonia's eyes widened. "Regina, as a jewellery designer, I can tell you that's not normal. They're planning something." The studio door opened, and Sonia's sister Lucille walked in with coffee. She caught the end of our conversation and nearly dropped the cups. "Those pieces are worth a fortune, aren't they? Didn't you say they're from the 1920s? My grandmother turned down multiple offers over the years. I accepted the coffee with trembling hands. She always said they weren't just jewellery. They were our family's legacy. Sonia grabbed her laptop. "Let me do some digging. Rebecca's been flaunting her connections to that upcoming charity gala, right?" "The one Jack Kelly is organising?" "Yes, she won't shut up about being on the planning committee." "Well," Sonia typed furiously, "according to their website, they're having a special jewellery auction segment. featuring rare and historic pieces. My stomach dropped. No, they wouldn't dare. They would, Lucille interjected. Remember last month when Rebecca kept talking about some surprise contribution to the auction? I stood up so quickly my coffee spilled. I need to see that vault. Now. Regina, wait. Sonia grabbed my arm. Running in there accusing them won't work. These people are calculated. We need to be smarter. What do you suggest? A slow smile spread across Sonia's face. You know how I've been working on that new collection? The one focusing on identifying authentic vintage pieces. She pulled out her camera. I think it's time we documented every detail of your grandmother's jewellery. Every single detail. For the first time since the theft, I felt a glimmer of hope. The Suttons thought they were dealing with a naive outsider. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The invitation just arrived. I held up the thick cream envelope embossed with gold lettering. Sonia and I were meeting in her studio again, our new sanctuary for plotting. The charity gala is in 3 weeks. Perfect timing. Sonia pulled out a folder stuffed with photographs and documentation. I've authenticated every piece of your grandmother's collection. The craftsmanship, the unique settings. These aren't just valuable, they're museum-worthy. My phone buzzed. It was Tobias. Mother wants to know if you're wearing burgundy or navy to the gala. She doesn't want us to clash. I showed the message to Sonia, who rolled her eyes. Tell her burgundy, then wear navy. Ladies, Jack Kelly's voice boomed as he strode into the studio. Sorry I'm late. Traffic was hell. He kissed Sonia's cheek and gave me a warm hug. So, Regina, Sonia filled me in. Those vultures really thought they could get away with this. They still think they can. I pulled out Rebecca's latest note, demanding I attend her pre-gala tea party. They're getting bolder. Rebecca's been dropping hints about a spectacular auction piece to all her society friends. Jack settled into a chair, his expression serious. As the gala's organizer, I can tell you the auction piece she's registered is listed as Anonymous Family Collection, circa 1920s. The estimated value is astronomical. That's them. My hands clenched into fists. They're really going to try to sell my grandmother's jewellery. Not if we execute this properly, Sonia said, spreading out her plans. Jack, you said you could arrange for me to be the authentication expert for the auction. Already done, Jack grinned. The committee was thrilled to have someone of your reputation involved. And the slideshow presentation before the auction? I asked. You'll have 5 minutes to showcase the history of notable jewellery collections, Jack confirmed. The perfect opportunity to display those detailed photos of your grandmother wearing the pieces. Rebecca will be furious, I whispered, anxiety and anticipation mixing in my stomach. She'll be more than furious, Sonia said firmly. She'll be exposed, in front of everyone who matters to her. Speaking of everyone, Jack added, checking his phone, Alexandra just confirmed she's attending. That woman can't resist a scandal. Once she sees this go down, it'll be all over the social circuit within hours. I took a deep breath. What if Tobias never forgives me? Sonia squeezed my hand. Honey, he lost the right to judge you when he let his mother steal your heritage. Remember, Jack said, standing to leave, you're not just fighting for jewellery, you're fighting for justice. And trust me, that ballroom will be packed with people who've been waiting years to see the mighty Rebecca fall. Looking at our plans spread across the table, I felt a strange calm settle over me. 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, the Suttons would learn that some things truly are priceless. Like karma. Regina, darling, you seem distracted lately. Rebecca's voice dripped with false concern as she poured tea in the garden. Is everything all right? Just excited about the gala, I replied, stirring honey into my cup. I heard the auction pieces are extraordinary this year. Alexandra, who'd invited herself to tea as usual, leaned forward. Rebecca, you simply must tell us about your contribution. Everyone's buzzing about it. Rebecca preened. Well, I shouldn't say too much, but it's a rather significant collection. Very historic. I watched Tobias shift uncomfortably in his chair. He'd been quiet all afternoon, barely touching his scone. Speaking of historic, Alexandra continued, Regina, didn't you mention having some family pieces? I'd love to see them sometime. Before I could respond, Rebecca cut in sharply. Oh, those old things are safely stored away, far too delicate for regular wear. Really? Alexandra's eyes gleamed with interest. Where are they stored? I've been looking for a secure place for my mother's diamonds. The family vault, of course, Wilson answered, joining us, though our vault manager is quite selective about new clients. Tobias suddenly stood up, his chair scraping against the patio stones. I need some air. I followed him to the rose garden, leaving the others to their gossip. Tobias? Don't, he said, running a hand through his hair. Just don't ask me about the jewelry again. I wasn't going to. I kept my voice neutral. But you know what they're planning, don't you? He turned to face me, his expression torn. Mother says it's for the best, that the pieces deserve to be somewhere they'll be properly appreciated. And what do you say? I say, he hesitated, then deflated. I say I need to support my family. I'm your family too, I whispered. He just walked away, leaving me among the roses his mother had insisted on planting over my herb garden. Back at the table, Alexandra was working her magic. Rebecca, you simply must wear your auction piece to the gala. Give everyone a preview. Oh, I couldn't possibly. Nonsense. It would create such buzz for the auction. Jack Kelly himself told me they're expecting record bids this year. Rebecca's resistance crumbled at the mention of potential profits. Well, perhaps just for the evening. I sipped my tea, hiding my smile. Alexandra might be a gossip, but she was predictably useful in pushing Rebecca's vanity buttons. Later that night, I heard Tobias on the phone in his study. Mother, this doesn't feel right. No, of course I'm not taking her side. Yes, I understand family loyalty, but I didn't stay to hear the rest. In 2 days, the gala would change everything, and Tobias would have to finally choose a side. The ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers and the flash of diamonds, but nothing shone brighter than Rebecca's triumphant smile as she swept in wearing my grandmother's complete jewellery set. Regina! Sonia grabbed my arm, steadying me. Deep breaths. Everything's ready. I know. I smoothed my navy blue gown, a deliberate choice that made Rebecca's burgundy dress clash rather than coordinate. But seeing her wear them, Mrs. Sutton, Alexandra's voice carried across the room, those pieces are absolutely stunning. You must tell everyone where they're from, Rebecca preened under the attention. Oh, these? They're part of tonight's special auction collection. A rare family heirloom set. But whose family? Someone asked. That's part of the mystery, isn't it? Rebecca laughed, touching the necklace, my necklace, with manicured fingers. Jack appeared at my elbow. The presentation starts in 15 minutes. Are you ready? I nodded, clutching my small USB drive. Is the tech all set up? Everything's perfect. He squeezed my shoulder. Sonia's already backstage reviewing the auction pieces. Tobias approached, looking uncomfortable in his tuxedo. Regina, Mother wants us all at the front table for your presentation. Something about supporting family. How appropriate, I murmured. The lights dimmed slightly, and Jack took the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin our auction, we have a special presentation on historic jewellery collections by Regina Sutton, followed by an authentication overview from renowned expert Sonia Hughes. Rebecca's table erupted in polite applause. Wilson beamed with artificial pride. Tobias stared at his water glass. My hands shook as I connected my drive to the laptop. The first slide appeared. My grandmother on her wedding day, radiant in the very jewellery Rebecca now wore. This is a story about legacy, I began, my voice clear and strong, about precious things passed down through generations. More photos appeared. My grandmother at various family events, always wearing the distinctive pieces. Then, documentation of the jewellery's provenance, certification papers, and family records. Some legacies are protected, I continued, watching Rebecca's smile fade. Some are stolen. The final slide showed my empty jewellery box and Rebecca's handwritten note about the family vault. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Alexandra's hand flew to her mouth in theatrical shock. Wilson's face turned purple. And now, I said, I'd like to invite our authentication expert to examine the pieces currently being worn by Rebecca Sutton. Sonia stood, professional and poised. "Mrs. Sutton, would you join me on stage?" Rebecca gripped her chair, knuckles white. "This is preposterous. Wilson, do something." But all eyes were on her now. The whispers had started. Phones were discreetly recording. And in that moment, as Rebecca's carefully constructed world began to crack, I finally understood what my grandmother meant when she said some things were truly priceless. "I will not be subjected to this circus!" Rebecca's voice echoed through the ballroom. But Alexandra was already behind her, practically pushing her toward the stage. "Darling, if there's nothing to hide, why not clear this up right now?" Alexandra's smile was pure venom. "Unless—" Sonia stood at the podium, professional and composed. "As an expert in vintage jewellery authentication, I can confirm these pieces match exactly with the photographs and documentation we've just seen, down to the unique maker's marks and specific wear patterns." "This is absurd," Wilson sputtered, standing up. "We have paperwork." "Forged paperwork," Jack interrupted, stepping forward with a folder. "The vault manager was quite cooperative when presented with evidence of fraud. Apparently he's not interested in losing his license over family drama." Rebecca's face contorted. "You ungrateful little—" "Mother," Tobias's voice cut through the chaos. He stood slowly, looking between me and his parents. "Is it true? Did you steal Regina's jewellery?" "Steal?" Rebecca laughed shrilly. "We were protecting valuable pieces from someone who couldn't possibly appreciate their worth." "By consigning them to auction?" Sonia asked, projecting the consignment agreement onto the screen. "Under a false provenance?" The ballroom erupted in murmurs. Phones clicked. Alexandra was practically vibrating with delight at the unfolding scandal. "Security," Jack called out. "Please escort Mr. and Mrs. Sutton to my office. The police would like to take their statement." "You can't do this," Rebecca clawed at the necklace. "These belong to the Sutton family now." "Actually," I stepped forward, my voice steady, "they belong to me, and I'd like them back." Two security guards approached. Wilson's face was ashen as they led him away. Rebecca struggled, her perfectly coiffed hair coming undone. "Tobias!" she shrieked. "Tell them! Tell them we did this for the family!" But Tobias stood frozen, watching his mother's hysteria with horror. Finally he turned to me. I knew, and I said nothing. "I'm so sorry, Regina." "Mr. Kelly," a police officer called from the doorway, "we're ready for statements." The crowd parted like the Red Sea as Rebecca and Wilson were escorted out, their carefully cultivated social status crumbling with every step. Sonia carefully removed each piece of jewellery from Rebecca's trembling form. "I'll have these properly cleaned and returned to you, Regina." "You've ruined everything," Rebecca hissed as she passed me. "You'll never be welcome in this family again." I met her gaze steadily. "No, Rebecca. You ruined everything when you thought you could steal my heritage and get away with it." As they disappeared through the doors, Alexandra raised her champagne glass. "Well, I believe this is what they call karma, darling." The room buzzed with excitement, but all I could feel was a profound sense of justice. My grandmother's legacy was safe, and the truth, as they say, had finally set me free. "The charges have been filed," Jack announced, closing his office door behind him. "Grand theft and attempted fraud. Their lawyers already pushing for a plea deal." I sat in one of his leather chairs, still wearing my gala dress from 2 hours ago. Sonia perched on the armrest beside me, while Tobias stood by the window staring at the city lights. "Rebecca's been calling everyone," Alexandra reported, scrolling through her phone. "No one's answering. The social circle has spoken, darling. The Suttons are finished." "They're still my parents," Tobias said quietly. "Parents who committed a crime," Sonia reminded him. "And nearly dragged you into it." Jack cleared his throat. "Regina, there's something else. The Women's Rights Foundation was impressed by how you handled this. They want you to head their new initiative on financial empowerment and family justice." "Me?" I blinked in surprise. "You stood up to powerful people who tried to erase your identity," he explained. That resonates with a lot of women. Alexandra nodded enthusiastically. The story's already trending. Woman exposes family's jewelry theft at charity gala. You're going to be an inspiration. I never wanted this kind of attention, I said. I just wanted my grandmother's jewelry back. Sometimes standing up for yourself creates bigger waves than you expect, Sonia said softly. Tobias finally turned from the window. I'm moving out of the estate. I can't stay there anymore. Where will you go? I asked. I don't know. He met my eyes. Where will you go? The room fell silent. Our marriage hung by a thread, frayed by his family's actions and his own complicity. I think, I said carefully, we both need time to figure out who we are without your parents' influence. He nodded, pain and understanding crossing his face. I'll have my lawyer contact you. After he left, Alexandra squeezed my hand. You're better off, darling. Trust me. The foundation wants an answer by Monday, Jack mentioned gently. It's a chance to turn this whole mess into something positive. My phone buzzed. A message from Wilson's private number. You'll regret this. Family stands by family. I showed it to Sonia, who snorted. Yeah, like they stood by you. Forward that to the detective, Jack advised. And Regina, say yes to the foundation. The best revenge isn't just exposing the truth, it's thriving afterward. I touched my grandmother's necklace, now safely returned to my neck. Its weight felt different now, not just a reminder of the past, but a symbol of standing up for what's right. Okay, I said. Tell them I'm in. Alexandra raised her ever-present champagne glass. To karma, darling, and to new beginnings. To... Looking around at my real support system, I finally smiled. Some family you're born into or marry into. But the best family, I was learning, is the one that stands with you when it matters most. The divorce papers are signed, I told Sonia as we sat in her studio, surrounded by her latest designs. Tobias was fair about everything. More than fair, actually. Because he knows he failed you, she said, sketching a delicate bracelet pattern. Have you heard about Rebecca and Wilson? House arrest and mandatory restitution. I touched my grandmother's necklace. Alexandra says they're selling the estate to pay their legal fees. Speaking of Alexandra, Sonia grinned. Did you see her latest social media post? True friendship means exposing fake friends. I laughed. She's really leaning into her role as my unexpected ally. Regina, Jack poked his head in. Your next speaking engagement is confirmed. Full auditorium already. Really? I stood up, smoothing my blazer. How many women this time? 300. All wanting to hear how to stand up to family financial abuse. He handed me a folder. The foundation's thrilled, donations are up, and we've helped 50 women recover stolen assets. Good. I thought of Rebecca's last words to me in court. You've destroyed this family. At least something positive came from all this. Oh, Sonia exclaimed. Show her the thing. Jack pulled out a magazine. Look who made the 40 under 40 list for social impact. There I was, photographed wearing my grandmother's jewellery, under the headline, Regina Mills, turning personal justice into public empowerment. Mills, I said softly. It feels good to use my own name again. Lucille burst in, waving her phone. You won't believe this. Tobias just posted about the foundation's work. He's publicly supporting it. I took her phone, reading his post. Proud to see positive change emerging from our family's mistakes. Sometimes the bravest thing is admitting when those closest to us are wrong. Well, Sonia said, looks like someone finally grew a spine. Better late than never, I replied, handing back the phone. But I'm not looking back. Jack checked his watch. Ready to head to the auditorium? Those 300 women are waiting. I gathered my presentation materials, pausing to look at my reflection. The woman staring back wasn't the same one who'd married into the Sutton family. She was stronger, wiser, and finally, completely herself. You know what my grandmother always said. I turn to my friends, my real family. Sometimes life gives you exactly what you need, disguised as exactly what you didn't want. Smart woman, Sonia smiled, just like her granddaughter. Walking out into the bright morning sun, I felt lighter than I had in months. Rebecca had been wrong. She hadn't destroyed a family. She'd helped me build a better one. And somewhere, I knew my grandmother was smiling, her legacy not just preserved but transformed into something that would help others find their own strength.